What's up, guys? Welcome to Bleav In Rams, part of the Bleav Network. Erin Coscarelli with you. Be sure to subscribe, comment, rate, follow this podcast, and you can also catch us on Bleav TV and follow us on all the socials. Kids, follow us. Do it. I'm so stoked today. Dear friend, someone that I just respect so much, I've known for years, has the most amazing parents. We'll ask about Marianne in a moment. NFL media's very first analytics expert. You can see her across all the NFL media shows and platforms. Cynthia Frelund in the house. Cynthia, how you doing, babe? Bet Online is your number one source for betting needs from baseball, golf, soccer, right to all the top fights in UFC, MMA, and every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game is over, head on over to our online casino and get in on the game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. And that is a lot. All right, head to our website today to get in on the action. Use promo code Bleav, B-L-E-A-V, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, the game starts here.
Hello, my dear friend. I'm so happy to see you, even if it's just virtually. We saw each other a little bit ago, but never enough Erin time for me. We need to plan a hike and for sure do it now that, you know, I got an extra dog for you, so you can borrow mine on our hike.
I love all the dogs. That's one thing that we bond over. You have the cutest dog, Gordy, but now you have a new one. Can you tell me what's Clyde's story?
Yeah.
How did this happen?
So Clyde actually came from Michigan. I met him at the NFL draft. It was actually pretty cool because all of the wood and metal that they used to construct the draft stage, they created a homeless shelter and a spay and neuter center from the raw materials. So one of the places that they were, working with was the Detroit Dog Rescue. And this dog, I'm from Michigan originally. I'm actually from East Lansing, which is about 70 miles away from Detroit. And this dog that was there, he had come from actually my hometown. He went to the Detroit Dog Rescue because they had more of a capacity for huskies. He was at a kill shelter, the whole thing out, it was crazy. But he's from my hometown or he was abandoned in my hometown. And then I met him and I could tell he would get along well with Gordy. And it's better for Gordy to have a playmate because anyone who has a husky German Shepherd mix knows those things have a lot of energy. So the more they can play, the better they are. And they're like really getting along well. They have so much fun. We have WrestleMania over here. They're both boys. So I feel like if there were Gronkowskis, but huskies, that's my dogs.
I love it. You're a boy mom.
I'm a boy mom for sure.
I want to have so much fun on the show with you today because I want to talk to you about, probabilities or possibilities or percentages. But I imagine with two dogs with the kind of fur they have, there's now an excess of dog fur in the household. Does Cynthia Frelund, is her house impeccable? Is it organized as much as I know your brain is? And I've seen your Excel spreadsheets. So what is it like at home with you?
I mean, I am not sponsored in any way by Dyson, but I cannot say enough wonderful things about the Dyson. I got the German Shepherd attachment. It is the most satisfying thing where you actually brush the dog with it. It sucks the air in, it sucks the fur in right there. It's really great. So if you have one of those big dogs, it is well worth it because when you we have luckily we don't have any carpet or anything like that, so we can just vacuum it up, and it's this Dyson it's worth it. It's worth the price of admission. It's incredible.
Oh.
So it's very helpful with the right tools.
I remember the kind that it's a Roomba. I mean, I don't know. Are those not effective? I used to have
the dogs want to attack it.
Oh.
So they think it's a playmate, so it didn't really work for us. But the Dyson, it's quick. It's actually a little satisfying for me. I like it. I'm a fan.
I imagine it's very therapeutic to see just to have the ability to get in front of the dog fur balls around the house. So I have a Chihuahua, tiny little 5-pound dog, and he sheds a pretty significant amount considering he's got very little real estate on his body. So I can only imagine. What kind of breed is Gordy?
They're both husky shepherd mixes. So Gordy is a Malamute as well. And then we're getting Clyde's, the rest of his DNA back, but I'm pretty sure he's also husky shepherd something because they look pretty similar.
You'll need to update us and also maybe give us a live look at one of the two dogs sometime during the show or on social media.
Do you know what they're doing right now? They're not here because in LA, this is so random. I know it's Rams fans understand this, but if you want your dog to be able to go to daycare, they have to have trial days. And today they're having a trial day at daycare. So I will report back if they passed their trial day or not at daycare, because it is very serious around here.
You know what? As someone from LA, I can say this. That is the most high maintenance dog situation I've ever heard. They need to go through a dog audition to be able to get on the roster of the dog kennel thing. That's crazy to me.
Insane. Yep. They're hopefully they make the all 53, they're all 50. It's the 53-man roster. Let's hope they're in for it. But let me be clear, like these dog places are in, like, I'm glad that they go through the strict process because they're my babies and I need them to be happy. But it is wild. It is wild.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, let us know how it goes with Gordy and Clyde. Now we're all invested. But what's really interesting too, and I saw you at Steve Weissman's birthday right before the draft, and you were really looking forward to going to Detroit. The draft was in Detroit. You're from Michigan. What was that like for you? That must have been really cool.
I mean, I had one of those full circle moments. I know since you're like the biggest USC person, you get them kind of more often because actually we saw Pete Carroll that night, remember? Like
he blew me off so hardcore. I was so excited.
He just was like, he didn't know, he was just out of it. He was like on a bike, whatever. But you have those moments, like for me, I mean, Barry Sanders was the reason I became a football fan as a kid growing up. And I had this weird full circle moment. And by the way, my dad works in the auto industry. He did for his whole career. So it was a nice, cool moment to see Detroit being back because even though we lived so far, that was where my dad's office was. It was in 2008, like things were, not only were they bad on the field for the Lions when they didn't win a single game in 16 tries, but also it was really bad for the city as a whole. So to see this whole rejuvenation and this turnaround, and it was actually really fun and really special. Like the people came out, they were tailgating starting at 8 a.m. It could have been even earlier. That's just when I first went outside to see them. And it was incredible. And, being able to on stage interview Barry Sanders and tell him, in front of a whole bunch of people, 300,000 people, to say something like, I said, like, I don't know, I would imagine about 75, I do numbers, I think about 75% of this crowd would agree with me that you're the reason they became Lions fans and maybe even football fans. But, I got to thank him, which was cool. And, he just had a health scare. So it even means more. You don't know, time is very precious, as we know. So it meant so much. I mean, it got a little misty in there for all of us when I got a chance to do that. So it was, we were outside, but somehow it just got misty. So for both me and Barry, we were a little misty.
I love that, Cynthia. That's such a beautiful moment because, my time with you at NFL or former colleagues at NFL Network, you've always been somebody with, heart of gold, but you love your football and you treat people well. And it is really nice to have those full circle moments where the work pays off. You're passionate about what you do. Your story is so fascinating, right? You're the first female, NFL analyst. You do all of this work in analytics, and it's so fascinating. People are crazy and obsessed. It's only growing more and more as fantasy football and betting are becoming a thing. So to be able to have that moment, share that with us, I think it's really cool to say, because this is not an easy industry. In fact, actually, one of the things I want to ask you right off the top is how much do you prepare with your job? You are truly one of the most diversified individuals. Like, everything about everything, which is literally crazy. But how do you prepare as we head into training camp? How do you take a day off? Like how do you prepare in terms of what you do for a living?
Yeah, I mean, the end of June, right now, like I kind of time it up with when the NFL season takes their time off too. Actually, I just finished doing with Les Snead, a GM interview series for NFL Plus. I think you can find it other places too. But, we went through and talked about his draft picks, and actually love this time of year because in my prep, asking people asking people the positive things that they like about what's going on. And, sometimes during the season we get bogged down with like, oh, this loss feels so terrible, blah, 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 it's negative. But right now, everything's so positive. So laying the foundation in these months, in the Mays and the Junes, when we're not necessarily like on air every day or like having to do, so many things and being pulled in so many different directions, having the conversations being like, what is it that you like? Why did you take, Braden Fisk? Like, what did you see about him other than his athleticism at the combine? Like, what is it on film that, like, which were the plays that you really liked? And asking and reloading in those moments, taking that time so that it's not just strictly numbers. Of course, we can create models for a lot of different things. And I do use my models a lot. That's what analytics is. But part of it is infusing that with soul, because ultimately analytics are a tool in the tool belt of anyone who even enjoys watching football. So, it's about, mapping out the balance between, what are the numbers saying? What is the eye saying? What is the people who are making the decisions? What are they thinking? Because those ultimately influence how everyone feels about everything, as we know. And it's a lot of this mental, the mental aspect of it can't be denied. So going into training camp right now, like, this is a little bit of break time. I have some fun. I listen to some other people's content. I enjoy, like, I just love people who love their craft. I love people who love football. I love listening to you. I love how you combine football with a lot of the things that you've learned in your life and the tools you have in your tool belt, because you've always been like that. So I remember watching you at ESPN and being like, she is so cute. And then you're in person, like, she's nicer than she is, like, just so welcoming. So you have to hone those things, right? And this is the time of year where you do both, but it's laying that foundation now so that once the true coding gets into play, you have like the personal element sort of handled.
Yeah, and this is why you're so interesting. You're so diversified. You can handle sort of the right brain and the left brain, and take a bigger, wider lens look at it. What did you gain in terms of now? How do you see Les Snead? Because they always hit on the drafts. They hit on the drafts last year, right, with Puka. They're, they have big holes and shoes to fill without Aaron Donald this year. What was the big takeaway for you when you got that opportunity to talk to Les?
The thing that I love about Les is his ability to, like, take each moment. We talk about in football, it's like you can't let the last play, if it was a great play or a terrible play, you have to forget it. You can't let that impact what you're doing going forward. And I think that Les embodies that from a strategic standpoint better than almost anyone. I mean, in certain years when they didn't have the draft picks, they really went all out in free agency and it netted them in a Super Bowl. And then now they have the draft picks and they're trying to fill the shoes of Aaron Donald. But instead of trying to find like a guy that looks like him, they find all of these pieces that in combination can be a nice front going forward. You're not going to replace Aaron Donald. Sorry. I don't think any Rams fan even thinks that, right? But what you can do is create a new structure given the available assets that could actually function in a way that helps alleviate some of the pain of him losing, of losing him. So, I like that about Les, because some people get, sunk cost fallacy, right? Like they throw bad money after good. They make bad decisions to try to cover up another bad, and that's just this horrible spiral. And Les doesn't do that. I mean, I love their approach to this is now, not yesterday, not tomorrow. Like, they're very present in their decision making. Not to say they don't look at the past, but to say like they make smart decisions given what's in front of them, and they're not throwing bad money after good, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because we would all be in denial, living in a fantasy world, thinking that, another Aaron Donald is going to come. And, if he is putting all the eggs on the roster, on the rookie's shoulder, to think that they're going to be able to equate to what Donald did on the football field is an unfair expectation. So that's interesting that they're trying to just sort of incorporate maybe a new, Chris Shula's the new DC. There's a lot of moving parts there on defense, and it'll be interesting to see the way, the Rams are going to navigate this season, because they're always going to have to be worried about the Niners.
Well, like Kobe Turner, right? Like that last year, like, I don't think we were talking about him this time last year. Obviously, he's injured prior to the draft, whatever. We have some reasons why, but really turned out to be a great pick. Like they used free agency plus this year's draft and last year's draft to create a front. It's not like Aaron Donald wasn't contemplating retirement before. This didn't come out of nowhere. They really did a nice job of planning, given like they confronted reality. They didn't pretend that the Niners were somehow going to be in a different division. They didn't, they didn't pretend to any of that. But I really love, my favorite stat that I always have to bring up whenever I'm talking about the Rams. My favorite thing about Matthew Stafford, obviously Lions fan here, so clearly love Matthew Stafford, but talking about that, embodying the don't think about the last play, good or bad, in an 8-year sample. So I haven't added in 2023's data yet, but prior to that, in an 8-year sample, no quarterback had a better passer rating or completion percentage on downs after being pressured than Matthew Stafford. Meaning he could, if he got clobbered in one down, it doesn't matter. He's going to get right up, and he has a better chance of succeeding on that next step. So to me, perhaps that's some like a little bit of a window into some of the way he thinks and some of the way he prepares. So it's just it's kind of, to me, that it's just very congruent with the same things that Les Snead was in when I spoke to him. It's like, this is where we are now. Like, handle it here. Don't think about that, bad or good. Let's go. Let's move forward.
Yeah. I mean, I think all the best to do it, even in broadcasts, when we have a slip up or a fumble, if you will.
Yeah. When you have as many slip ups as possible. Yes.
Yes. And honestly, it's also embracing that too. It's kind of knowing that we're all human and riding the waves and just sort of like figuring out how to be the most agile you can, right? Because it's not always going to go our way. We're going to lose more than we're probably going to win. And what can you take away from that? And it's grit, and it's really what the Rams have embodied. This last season, even when they struggled in the first half of the season, and then they came out, guns firing, and making it to the postseason. No one saw that coming based on the first technically half of the season and what they were going through. And so, to be respectful of time, I do want to ask you some questions, because you do measure risk for a living. And my question to you is, I want to start asking you, percentage questions. Okay. What is the percentage that the Rams, and I hope we can be as unbiased as possible, because remember, Cynthia is from Michigan and she loves Barry Sanders. What is the percentage the Rams beat the Lions week 1?
I mean, to be fair, in week 1, the interesting part about week 1 is a lot of that, to me, comes down to coaching. I haven't run models yet. We don't know who the 53-man rosters are yet, for example, but that's a pretty evenly matched game in lots of ways. The Lions had a completely rebuilt cornerback crew, their entire secondary, their corners last year, it was messy. It wasn't good. Their offense is very good. There's some interesting changes along, there's a guard that used to be in Detroit that's now on the Rams. That makes a big difference when Jared Goff and the running game, that way that they use the running game, is going to make a big difference for them. So I think this is a pretty evenly matched game. The advantages is, of course, like, if Jared Goff is not playing outside, like in inclement weather, he actually does have like a statistical, it does matter where he's playing. It's not necessarily going to make you lose a game, but it does change his ability a little bit, right? So that one's one of the more intriguing, first games of the season, because the Rams coaching is always a big deal. I want to know what's the health of the running back room. I want to know I have some questions still. And then I want to see I want to see a little bit of what the O-line looks like and the D-line. The trenches, to me, will determine this game completely. And I want to know, Lions have some, other than Aiden Hutchinson, who's going to rush the passer. They've got some questions too. So the trenches, to me, whoever wins the trenches wins this game.
Yeah, it's interesting to talk about the coaching in the beginning, because I think you're absolutely right. No one, we had Andrew Siciliano on, and I'm like, give me the record for the year, because the season, or the team's, the schedule had come out, and he's like, we're in May, and I'm like, yes, of course. So just play along.
So 17-0.
Those are all legitimate concerns. What are they going to look like in terms of the trenches? How's the coaching going to decide to strategize the roster? But that doesn't mean we can't still keep playing this game. What is the percent Rams beat the Niners this year?
I think this year they split through the season. I think it's a split. So these two coaches, these two teams, for whatever reason, people say, like, you got to throw out the record books. It's more like they have special sauce and tricks just for the other one, right? And it's one of the things I love most about football, right? Like, you just feel like there's like a McVay Shanahan moment, and it's very I think it's palpable. So I think in general that they'll split. I'm not sure which one will be which or how it will happen, but I feel most confident saying that they will split.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest question the Rams fan base has is, did they do enough to compete with obviously the biggest competition in the division with the Niners? And that's always going to be the biggest play when it comes to trying to get to the postseason. Okay, well, about sweeping the Niners. So you said split. So that answers my question. Rams likely to go to New Orleans. What's the likelihood there?
The interesting part about New Orleans means, so Rams go to the playoffs. I like that. I very strongly believe in the odds of that, right? New Orleans, to me, it's very, very hard because at this point, especially right now, the season really matters when it comes to injuries. No team is deep enough to withstand so many injuries. Depends on how many. I want to know a little bit more about the defense because, these are some things that they're going to look different. They just are. We just know it, right? So I have some injury questions, but so I'd be very confident saying that they'll be playing after the regular season, but I don't. New Orleans, to me, especially in the NFC, it's so interesting because there aren't that many great, I don't feel like there's as many strong teams in the NFC as there are in the AFC. So AFC is like a total crapshoot. NFC, it's like, well, you got to get his chances almost any, right? Like I think it's right now, I do think it's the Eagles to lose.
Mm-hmm. Fair point, for sure. Okay, well, thank you for playing that game with me. Now we're going to have a little bit of fun. Max Crosby recently, I want to say it was on the Jim Rome show, discussed aliens. Does he believe in aliens? I want to get your percentage on if you believe aliens are real.
100%. Now, do I think they look like ET and they're green and what? No. No. I think that there are, what do they call them now? Like the word alien is like, you're not supposed to say that, I think. It's either, or whatever the correct terminology is, I believe there are people from there are living beings from other universes and other galaxies and other planets. Yes, 100%. 100%.
I mean, there has to be. It's to think that the universe that is as big as it is and we're the only walking around. I mean, that's really narcissistic. I mean,
we might be the only ones that walk, but they could prance. I don't know. These are all technicalities, but they exist.
There could be a total Earth just inhabited by Gordies and Clydes. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. There should be. I would want to go live on that Earth. It's so cute.
With just dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know there's a little bit of a delay. I don't know if you're feeling it. I'm kind of seeing it. So don't worry. We'll edit it, everything.
Great.
Okay. Did you by any chance get to see Joe Burrow, his catwalk?
No. I need to see that. Was it good?
Burrow's Fashion Week walk? Oh my gosh.
No, I need to see this.
Someone needs to get Cynthia that video ASAP. Okay, I will send it to you. So Joe Burrow, I think it was in Paris for Fashion Week, came out wearing the most, fashion, let's just say fashion forward outfit. And you should check it out. But I was going to ask, what was the percentage Joe Burrow goes to the Met Gala based on the vibes in Paris? Yeah.
I mean, if they're as immaculate as they sound, I would say 100. What? He absolutely needs to go to the Met Gala.
Yeah, he should. He looks like he could be on that catwalk and making money as a model, in addition to being an NFL quarterback. You're the best. Thank you for, doing this and playing around. What are you doing this summer? What's your summer plan?
I mean, for the most part, summer's done in like a month or like a little less than a month. So I'm just trying to have a little fun. We live in such a beautiful place. Sometimes you forget to take a little time in your own backyard just to enjoy. I bought the dogs this splash pad. So I go to the beach, then I play with them in the splash pad. That's that'll be good. And then we'll spend some time with family. So Art and Marianne are coming tomorrow. So They're going to be in town.
You need to tell her hi for me.
Oh, 100%. She loves you so much.
Cynthia's mom would come to set. I mean, it was like, I felt like I was right at home. Your parents are as good as it gets. No doubt that's why you're as golden as you are. You have really great parents. Well, tell them I said hello. Enjoy the rest of your summer. I will see you. Let's do a beach date. I'll bring the margaritas. We'll hang out.
Perfect. Perfect.
Talk more Rams, talk more football. Maybe from the Detroit LA game week 1. And just see you soon. You're the best. Thanks again, Cynthia. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, my dear friend. And of course, my mom loves you. My dad does too, but my mom just more outspoken. The Italian people, we're crazy.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, tell the fam hi, and we'll get you back on soon. Okay.
Sounds great.